There's a great book called The Power of Habit. You should read it.
Power of Habit.
And it by this guy named Charles Duhigg. And, he talks about, you know that saying, once an addict, always an addict?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is a physiological thing.
You believe it's a disease?
I don't really think it's a disease. No, I think it's, but physiologically, when you start to do drugs, and then do drugs, now we can see it. You can actually see on a brain scan what a drug addict's brain looks like, and versus a healthy person's. And so you can also see when people who are in recovery or who do get better, this is the thing is the brain, through it's called neuroplasticity, actually changes. However, there is a point in one's life where it's irreversible. Like it's always there. In other words, you broke the neurotransmitters, and then it's always going to be there. So that's why it's always that struggle for people, right? So it's like that in anything in life. It's not just addiction. It's like, so we all have that. But the coolest part about humans, and the Power of Habit talks a little bit about it. I read another book called The Talent Code that talks about it, is that your thoughts really can physically change your brain, which will change everything else. You just have to embrace that, kind of like what you said. All right, finally, I just had to just say, okay, I'm getting rid of all the fucking scumbags in my life.
But it says in my document, I think I said, you know what? When I literally went up to the police, all Xanax out.
Right.
Said, are you guys looking for me?
Right.
I got in the back of that cruiser,
right.
And I'd never been so grateful.
Because that's truly reaching out for help.
I just couldn't do it.
Right.
And so it came to a point where, since we're sharing it, I would overdose. And,
right.
And now they can't, the Narcane's not doing anything because the shit's so laced with fentanyl.
Right.
That they're cutting my sleeve and all this stuff's happening. And I'm getting mad when I why the fuck did you wake me up?
Right.
So mad, I was peaceful, leave me alone.
Right.
And now that I think back at that, I'm like, wow, that is a shitty way to feel.
Yeah.
That is a shitty way to live. I was living a shitty way.
Yeah, and the thing is too is
I
have empathy for people like you and others because like Jason and Highland, who we're talking about, and others like athletes or anybody else, there's people like you who grew up really hard. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up hard, but probably not as hard as you. It's like you don't even have an idea of what it's like to live a normal life. Right. You know what I mean? But then there are people who grew up middle class, they have a great life, everything's cool, they're in high school, they're on their way to college, and then something happens in high school. It's like the theory of high school hero, college zero. So in high school you climb all these ranks, and this is just life. You're okay, you're the captain of the football team, which I was, you're class president, which I was, you're at the top of the world. And then you graduate. And then you got to fucking start all over again. So then you get to college. And what happens is a lot of people, this is just the progression of life, a lot of people, they're trying to chase that high. That's why professional athletes like Michael Jordan is infamous for fucking gambling, or Barkley and all these other guys, because they're trying to chase that fucking high that they'll never, ever be able to duplicate again. So with addiction, I understand. You do heroin, you feel great. Everything's great. You feel like everything's amazing. You're fucking super happy. Everything's awesome. You think you look awesome. You think everything's great. You feel great, and it totally makes sense to me. So it's just being able to be self-aware, and like you said, being able to just say, all right, I fucked up. I'm a mess.
Right.
Let's fix it.
24 years of my life was just a disaster
yeah.
as far as using. You know what I mean? And I was that statistic that I don't care for now. Mass health. I need a Social Security check. I'm disabled. I'm this, and working jobs here and there. But now I look at my life, like I said, I pay my own health insurance.
Right.
I work 2 jobs.
Right.
And I feel good, but who knows that you can feel like this if you don't give it a try.
Right.
Some people are just.
And people ultimately, I get it too. They just give up, right? I mean, I just posted on Facebook about this. Isn't what we were just talking about a second ago about consistency? It's when you first started here, it's a straight commission job. It's a big deal. Fuck, I got to pay my rent. I got to eat. I got kids. I got to do all these things. And so that's difficult. And even you have good weeks, you have bad weeks, and the bad weeks really suck.
Yeah, this was bad.
The bad weeks really suck, and we all do. Like, we all have good weeks and bad weeks.
And that's life, though. Like,
I
that's the thing,
know.
not every, you're not gonna go run out and fucking throw something up your nose or in your arm.
Yeah.
Because you
Right.
didn't make
Exactly.
sales the way
So you had a bad day. You know what I mean? So what are you gonna, like, you either gonna curl up in a ball and call it a day. And you know, the other thing that people don't recognize, and these guys I've always been open and honest, like, about me. Like, there are days where I just want to curl up in a ball and call it a day too.
Yeah.
Like, we all do, but it's like the ability, it's that stupid fucking bullshit cliche about being able to get up. But
Right.
that's also reality. It's like, you gotta get up.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And the thing about addicts is, like, well, with a lot of people is nobody likes change. So when you're used to getting high over every little fucking thing that goes wrong, and you get a little bump in the road, you
Right.
have to learn, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Because that's not your option anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The other part I see
just
too with
stay
it.
working.
Right, exactly. The other part I see too, like with addiction, is, and I think, you know, where the system is broke, is that so many people, you know, we look at it like, okay, you fell off the wagon, right, and it happens over, and the challenge, and this is, again, goes back to every aspect of life, is that, okay, so you're an addict, whatever, and you're clean for a year, and then you fucking go off on a bender. Okay, the problem with so many is then they feel so bad about it, and then they stay there. Yeah, listen, we all fuck up every single day. Like, I screw up every day. We all make mistakes every single day. I understand, because you have, not you, but people, you have alienated everybody in your life, and then all of a sudden you fall off the wagon again, and that means now that you're forever a failure. No, it's like the diet industry, right? People like, you know, like, look, I've been keto for a year. The past 3 months, I have not. I've been a mess. And I don't feel good physically about it. And I'm like, all right, I got to get back. It's taken me a few months to finally get back. Like, all right, I'm going to get back. Last night I had a fucking piece of chocolate. It doesn't mean today that I'm just going to screw it all up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to try and get through today. It's the basics of, like, the 12 steps, right? You know, and, you know, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I don't understand. I know what they are.
Right.
I had to do them through, like, halfway else and stuff.
Right.
But I just don't.
It works for somebody. It doesn't. The 12-step programs, they don't work for everybody. The Power of Habit. The reason why I want you to check out that book is because, you know, and this is the thing about, again, it's just human nature. Like, we all have to do this. Like, my brother Dominic, who died of an overdose. You know, people would always be like, "Hey, Mike, you got to talk to him. You got to talk to him. You got to talk to him." And I would talk to him until I'm blue in the face. And he's, you know, and then at some point though in your life, that it happens for different ages for people. You have to be responsible for where you're at in life. It's not your mother's fault. It's not your father's fault. It's not the way you grew up. It's not because what happened to you when you were 8. It did happen.
Yes.
We know it happened. I don't know exactly what happened, but it fucked up life. Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you're 8 years old, you can't tell your mom you want to live in the Hollywood Hills when you're living in the projects. I get that part, but it's like, okay, let's move on.
Right.
Now, like, I can't continue to blame my mother, my father, my environment, the drugs. Like, again, my whole fucking life, I grew up in the projects surrounded by crime, drugs, violence, fucking the whole thing. I was a bad kid. Like, I could have easily been a criminal.
Right.
Easily.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you just have to say, at a certain point in your life, and in The Power of Habit, there's a couple great stories about that, where people just say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be a productive citizen now. I'm going to fucking go to work. I'm going to do whatever it is I need to do. Like, I'm done being a fuck up.
So I think, like, emotion definitely has a big, so, like, as a kid, I mean, my mom, because my dad broke her heart, and me and my brother are born in the same year, we're Irish twins.
Yeah.
So she favored him, he denied him, long story short. Anyway,
Right.
So my mom, I did not know what affection was. I didn't know I'm still learning, like, the whole
Right.
love thing, like, But, like, I learned how to be numb at such a young age that, like, you know, learning how to numb myself or block myself out, even, you know, with food, at first,
Right.
always with something.
Right.
That I found that
To make you feel
substance.
better. Right.
Yep, exactly.
And that's just, we're just humans. Like, we
Yeah.
did, like, and I think in this world, and I've realized it just over the years, because and look, when I was a kid, I went through therapy. Even like when I was going through a divorce, I went through therapy, and I would talk about it even with people here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I had a fucking complete almost meltdown and then I found transcendental meditation. I put everybody here through TM, and I was like, look, guys, this is, you know, where I'm at. And I think a lot of people feel like they're weak. And so they don't want to tell anybody about it. Like,
Right.
hey, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been afraid of that. You know
Right,
what I mean?
I've
Like,
never been
yeah.
like, I was like, Jay, you're gonna see, I slipped out of my mouth. I'm like, fuck. Well, he already knew I had
What?
but then I'm like, damn, he's
Oh.
really gonna hear a couple of things on the documentary.
Right.
But I mean, nothing.
Who cares?
And I'm like, you know what? No, that's who I am.
Right.
And
So you
he
were.
sees who I am.
That's who
every-
you were.
That's who I was.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And